Hey everyone, Drew here, and welcome back to DCS World. Today we'll be leaping back to the 1950s and the golden age of the first jet fighters with the F-86 Saber. Let's hop into the cockpit of this vintage Sky Caddy and learn to start, taxi, and take to the skies. Let's get to work. Alrighty, welcome to the office of the F-86 Saber, everybody. And boy, what a beautiful pit this one is, and of course old school with all these steam gauges. Now imagine, if you will, it is 1950, and we are in our brand new, I'm going to go into secondary view here, Canadair Mark 5 Saber, although this is actually not a Canadair Saber. This is a North American F-86F, late model F, which has a lot of the refinements and features, but we don't get the upgraded Canadair engine, or there's a different navigational thing in that too, I believe. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this is still a very, very capable aircraft and an excellent model in DCS, and just a ton of fun to fly. It's a Sky Cadillac from the 1950s. It's gorgeous. But how do we start it? That's the question of the day. Well, we don't have an onboard power unit like we did in the Warthog or in the F-18, but we can connect to ground power. So we're going to do that by using our communication switch. Ground crew, ground electric power on.
Turn on the ground power.
And they're going to do just that for us. And when they do, you should see our fuel gauge move, and our gear indicator will indicate gear down and lock, which will verify with the handle, of course, which we're on the ground. It should. Alternate on. Let's check our hydraulic pressure. We want to make sure that that spools up. Very good. Alrighty, so we can start the aircraft now by coming over to the right panel. I'm going to zoom in here just a bit and go engine master on, and then this battery down here is how we actually start it. This is our starter, and then it's going to go to battery, but we're going to go left click, hold, right click up to battery, and then we're going to watch the engine RPM hit 3, and we're going to use our home key to unlock our throttle and introduce fuel. There it goes. And just before 10, we're going to hit home again, and we're going to go to low idle. And at this point, the engine's going to spool all the way up, and we can actually start turning on the other systems in the actual aircraft, which really is not a whole lot. Radio, navigational radio check, squelch, and I have to standby. And our RPM should stabilize around 30% and just under 600 degrees on the exhaust. And that's looking pretty good there. So we can go ahead and ask ground power to come off.
You can turn off the ground power.
And we can close our canopy with a right click or left control and C.
Ground power is now off.
Perfect. So now we can see that the radar inverter is ready to go. No other emergency warning lights. Oxygen check is on. If we had drop tanks on today, we would select our drop tank, so we don't have any drop tanks today, so we won't bother. Can adjust that guy there. Now, the last thing we need to do is adjust our trim for takeoff, which that light right there will light up, letting us know we've hit it. Flaps are set to down, and that should close our speed brakes, and we're ready to taxi. Before we do, we are going to check our hydraulic system and make sure that everything looks good. Yep, we can see our hydraulics moving around there. Alright, so we can throttle up. About 60% will get us moving. And we're going to use our nose wheel steering button, which should be bound to your control stick, or the S key if you don't, to turn with our rudders. Z and X on the keys if you got that. I have pedals. And that is that. We can taxi and we can start to head to the ramp. Now this is, like I said, a magnificent aircraft to fly. It's really, really easy and very responsive once you get it in the air, although you'll notice that the engine is a bit laggy in its response. And then we can go back to idle while we're rolling here so we don't gain too much speed and we're a little easier to control. But the Saber is pretty much the king of the golden era of jets, or I should say the first generation of jets. I don't think there was anything else that was more produced. Canada produced a ton of variants that are really, really well regarded. I think, like, Christ, the last ones were still flying in like the 90s somewhere, which is just crazy. And we're gonna go ahead and request takeoff.
Cobble ready. Springfield 1-1. Request takeoff.
Now currently we don't see anything in our sight, but if I were to turn it on and uncage it, you might see a little bit of it. No, maybe not, because we're still in takeoff mode. But the gyroscopic gun sight in this aircraft is pretty cool, if I do say so myself. And surprisingly accurate for what it is. With basically limited attack radar and gyroscopes keeping everything aligned. So we're going to line ourselves up on runway 7 here. And pretty much throttle up and go. So proper procedure, we're going to line up right on the center line. Ah, good. We can reset our altimeter. There. Alright, cool. We can realign on the center here, and then we can take off. Now, unlike a modern fast jet, our rotation speed is going to be a heck of a lot lower. At only 100 knots or so, or 120 knots or so. So we're going to go ahead and... Alright, throttle up. I'm going to hold as per usual, so that we gather our thrust. Release our brakes. And speed's alive. We should get rudder authority in a second to keep us on the center line. About 100, we can start pulling back on the stick. And we're up, keeping our pitch good here. Gear up, flaps up. And we're away, just like that. We're in the air, and we're off. Hope you guys found that informative, and hopefully we'll see you in the skies in the beautiful F-86 Saber. Thanks, have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.